Hello world and all who inhabit it, my name is Jesse, my pronouns are she, her, and today I have a hot spicy take on the next ban list for Junior Journey. It's hot. For the next ban list, I think MBT and RJ should, starting now, auto-limit every single normal summonable monster that has 3k attack or more, except Blue Eyes White Dragon. My reasoning is this. During the 2005 formats, we immediately ran into the issue that the best thing you could do was run 3 Ancient Gear Golems. During the 2006 format, we started with the strongest thing you could do being to run 3 Superconductor Tyranno. That card is now banned, but now we're running into a place where the best thing you can do is run 3 Ultimate Tyranno. This problem isn't going away. As members of MBT's Discord pointed out, in 2007, we get Cloudian Eye of the Typhoon. While I think that part of Junior Journey is getting to experience these kinds of big stupid monsters that weren't worth 2 tributes but are more than worth a normal summon, I think we have seen this process play out enough times specifically with monsters with an overwhelming attack stat line to know how it's going to go. There are a lot of strong monsters in Junior Journey that do not have 3k attack, some of whom we will get to shortly, and while I don't want to shut the large creatures out entirely, I think it would be heads up to just say they're limited as soon as they arrive. I am proposing we keep Blue Eyes exclusively at 3. I think it's fitting. Blue Eyes is an iconic 3 of, and to this day it's the strongest normal monster ever printed. Plus, because of Dragon's Mirror, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is more playable than it has ever been in any format without Cyberstein, and honestly, good for her. So yeah, I think it's logical to cap out attackers you can play 3 of with an iconic non-effect card. Big Bungus decks aren't going away, but I kind of like the idea that people who want to go all in on big monsters can't just play a bunch of 3-ofs anymore and instead have to make do with a stack of mismatched normals varying quality. So that's my biggest hot take, auto-limit the 3Ks. But while I have your attention, I'll go over my other hot takes. First of all, the bans. I only have 2, Fiber Jar and Witch of the Black Forest. Fiber Jar isn't ban-worthy for being too powerful necessarily. Decks that top junior format tourneys have rarely played more than 1 copy, and even more rarely still won games on the strength of that Fiber Jar. It's so random and chaotic, and a lot of the time straight up doesn't change who wins and who loses, but it's so annoying. It's not that interesting, it's the rocks fall everyone draws of card design, and it's irritating on Dueling Book because it takes 30 clicks to resolve. Fuck Fiber Jar. The other one is Witch. This card being in the format makes it harder to limit other cards because it can just act as another copy of Jinzo, Tyler the Great Warrior, Storm Shooter, and of Anubis. She just makes moving through your deck so much easier than any other available card. Next up are the limits. I'm going to break this into categories because I have a fair few. I think, first of all, a bunch of extremely boring 1-for-1 removal should be put at 1 copy, namely Nobleman of Crossout, Smashing Ground, Fissure, Bottomless Trap Hole, and Dust Tornado. There are just too many of these. In a format where you get 1 activation a turn, it makes the most sense to play these cards, which are almost sure things. I think it's best going forward to bring that number down and force people to play slightly riskier removal like Lightning Vortex. Oh yeah, by the way, that's a good way to understand how good all the 1-for-1 removal is in this format. This weekend I won a tournament using a deck that didn't run a single copy of Mirror Force in the main or side deck. Mirror Force is at 3 copies right now. My next 2 limits are part of what Sophie called the holy trinity of utility cards this format, Flame Ogre and Storm Shooter. They share the trait of being kind of innocuous on first read for a lot of people. Like, there was a lot of skepticism about these cards' power at the start of 2006. They're just overwhelming at multiple copies, though. If you summon Flame Ogre twice in game, you have a massive advantage over your opponent. Similarly, Storm Shooter will be fine at 1 copy because it's really a magic trick that only works once. After it's on the field, your opponent knows not to use those columns. But being able to normal Storm Shooter over and over again, never letting your opponent gain any ground, is just ridiculous. These next few cards are pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them. I think we should limit Messenger of Peace and Gravity Bind to hit stall, and I think we should limit Confiscation and Forceful Sentry to hit hand control. Some people say we should also hit Delinquent Duo, and honestly, I can't remember ever losing a game to Duo, especially because Despair from the Dark is so strong in this format, but I support limiting or banning it just because it's Duo. I'm not gonna argue against it, this card sucks. Also, Future Fusion is probably too strong to allow it multiple copies. It's not the strongest thing you can do with this current format, but that's only because of how much powerful removal is present. I think once you trim all that down, this runs a major risk of breaking the format at 3. In terms of taking your opponent's monsters, I think we should limit Brain Control to 1 copy and Creature Swap to 2 copies. Brain Control is game-endingly strong and also benefits Catapult Turtle decks. Creature Swap is really powerful in a format with 3k normal summons and the funniest way to punish your opponent's Storm Shooter because the person activating Creature Swap chooses the column of both monsters. Thanks for that one, Sophie. I don't quite want to put it to 1 copy yet though, because it's the best thing that little guy decks can do. Finally, we should semi-limit BES Tetrin. This is the other part of the utility trilogy, albeit the weakest of them. I like it at 2 copies, it acts as a check on if any stall builds start to gain traction, and it's fairly manageable compared to the other utility monsters. Still strong as hell though. God, I'm so bad at ending these videos.